kids aren't just,
Right.
passively absorbing stuff, but actually really thinking deeply.
Absolutely.
We're looking at chapter 8 of Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics.
Great chapter.
And,
I think it's safe to say this chapter is like a gold mine
oh, yeah.
of practical strategies, right?
It is. It's packed with them.
It is.
And I think one of the most important points it raises right off the bat
Yeah.
is this kind of paradox
Okay.
that even when we have the best intentions as teachers,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes the very way we set up our classrooms can actually work against
It's
students really thinking deeply.
It's like we're so focused on, having things run smoothly,
Yeah.
keeping everyone on track, that we kind of accidentally,
Yeah.
maybe like stifle that space.
It can happen for real exploration and questioning.
Like if you think about the image that the book uses, right? A classroom where every single student's doing the same exact thing
Oh, yeah.
at the same exact time, step by step.
Yeah.
It might look like a really well-organized,
Yeah.
efficient classroom from the outside.
Right. Like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. But is it really
Like,
a
yeah.
place where deep thinking is happening?
I don't know. It feels like something's missing there.
It does.
And I think, we can probably all relate to this. I know I've had moments
Sure.
where I'm like, oh,
Right?
maybe I
Yeah.
overplanned this lesson.
Yeah.
Like I didn't give them enough,
Not enough room to breathe.
room to breathe to
Right.
explore on their own.
Yeah, and the book really hits on that, right?
It does.
It's that lack of choice and this like over-management almost,
Yeah.
where you're dictating every little move. And it can make the kids so dependent on us for every single step. They're not really building their own understanding.
So how do we break out of that mold then?
Yeah, well, the book's not saying to throw all structure out the window.
Right.
It's about being more intentional about the structures we do create.
Okay.
And a key idea here is this shift from managing students to what the book calls mobilizing knowledge.
Okay. I like that mobilizing knowledge.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But what does that look like practically?
So picture it like a dance, right?
Okay.
The teacher's like the choreographer. You're setting the stage. You're providing some guidance.
Okay.
But the students are the dancers.
Okay.
They're the ones expressing themselves.
Right.
Improvising within that framework.
Okay. So there's like freedom, but within a structure.
Exactly.
Got it.
It's about giving them that freedom to explore, interact, share their ideas.
But I got to say, this all sounds a little idealistic.
Yeah.
I mean, don't classrooms need some level of,
Of course.
control?
But it's about finding the right balance.
Okay.
And the book is full of really practical strategies that you can actually implement in any classroom.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, so it's not just some pie-in-the-sky idea.
So where do we start?
So one fascinating thing the book highlights is that the classrooms that really work, the ones where you see the most effective learning happening, they have a really high level of interaction, not just within student groups, but between them.
Oh, that's interesting. Between the groups.
It's about fostering this culture of collaboration where learning becomes a shared responsibility.
And I guess when kids see how other kids are thinking and approaching things, it helps them kind of
broadens their own thinking.
Broaden their own right.
It's like they're learning from each other's thought processes, not just the teachers or the textbooks.
And then the teacher's role becomes more about facilitating those interactions.
You're like the conductor
Yeah.
in this orchestra of ideas.
Orchestrating it.
Okay.
Like that.
So instead of just giving them the answers,
Right.
you're creating those opportunities for them to share their thinking.
Challenge each other.
Challenge each other.
Bounce ideas.
Learn from those mistakes.
Okay. I see where we're going with this.
And the book breaks this down into really specific strategies.
Okay.
Both on a macro level, like the overall structure of your classroom.
Okay.
And then these micro level moves.
Micro moves.
Yeah, those little everyday interactions.
Okay. I'm hooked. Let's hear about these strategies.
Right.
How can we actually mobilize knowledge?
Okay, let's say you have a situation where two groups come up with totally different solutions to the same problem.
Okay. That happens all the time.
Right. So in a traditional classroom, you might just say, okay, here's the right answer.
Right. And move on.
And then move on. But in a thinking classroom, you might actually use that as a chance to connect those groups.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have them share their thought processes.
So it's not just about getting the right answer.
It's about the why behind those different approaches.
Okay.
Or let's say you see a group
that's
totally struggling with something, and another group has already
Oh,
totally nailed it.
Nailed it.
Instead of just jumping in and rescuing them, you might say something like, hey, Group B, they had a really interesting way of figuring this out.
Right.
Why don't you see if their strategy could help you?
So it's like the kids are becoming resources for each other.
Exactly. It's like this network of learning happening in your classroom.
I like that.
And it's powerful.
Yeah.
Because you're leveraging that collective wisdom.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's recognizing that they can learn just as much from each other as they can from us.
This is all really good stuff.
Yeah.
But I know some teachers out there are probably thinking like,
of course.
Okay, but what about...
What if this happens or what if that happens? I get it. It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the good news is the book actually addresses those concerns.
Oh.
Really practically.
Okay.
So it offers advice.
Okay.
Answers those common questions.
Okay.
So it's like a roadmap for actually putting these ideas into action.
Perfect. And that leads us right into our next segment where we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty.
Let's do it.
Of actually making this work in the classroom.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. So we're really digging into this idea of creating a thinking classroom, right?
It's all about getting the kids to really own their learning.
Absolutely. And the book gives us this amazing toolkit of strategies for doing just that.
Okay. Like what?
They call them micro moves.
Micro moves. I like that.
Little things you can do as the teacher
to
guide those interactions without taking over.
Okay, so give me some examples.
All right, let's say you're walking around and you see a group that's like having a major breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
They've got it.
You can see the light bulbs going off.
Totally. And instead of just praising them,
right.
A really powerful micro move is to highlight their work to the whole class.
Okay.
Be like, hey, everybody, look what Group D came up with.
Right.
Their approach to this problem is brilliant.
So you're showing off their brilliance.
Exactly. And you're encouraging others to learn from them.
Okay. I like that.
Now, on the other hand, let's say you see a group that's totally stuck.
Yeah.
They're hitting a wall.
Oh, yeah. That deer in the headlights look.
Instead of jumping in to rescue them, you could connect them with a group that's already been through that.
Okay.
You could say something like, hey, Group A, it seems like you're really wrestling with this. Remember Group B, they worked through something similar earlier. Why don't you see if their strategy might give you some ideas?
So again, they're using each other.
Exactly.
As resources.
It's all about that peer-to-peer learning.
I see.
Another micro move
is
just straight up suggesting interaction.
Okay. How would you do that?
So you might say, Group C, your visual for this is fantastic. Why don't you share it with Group F and see if they find it helpful?
Okay, so you're making those connections.
Exactly. You're creating these moments where different perspectives come together.
It's like cross-pollination.
Exactly. And it's amazing what these little prompts can spark. It leads to such richer discussions.
Yeah.
Deeper understanding for everybody.
So we've talked about like encouraging that interaction. But what about knowing when to step back?
Oh, that's key.
Yeah.
The book talks about the importance of not overstepping.
Okay.
They have two great micro moves for that.
Okay, let's hear them.
Be deliberately less helpful.
Deliberately less helpful.
Okay. And don't say or show anything another group could.
Whoa. Okay, those are interesting.
They are.
Okay, so deliberately less helpful. How does that work?
So instead of jumping in with the answers right away, you might just ask guiding questions.
So instead of saying, here's how you do it, you might say,
exactly.
What have you already tried?
Right.
What resources could help you figure this out?
You're putting the responsibility back on them.
Okay.
You're making them think more deeply.
And what about that second one? Don't say or show anything another group could.
This one's all about leveraging the knowledge in the room.
Okay.
So before you step in to help, just pause and ask yourself, could another group provide this information or guidance?
Right.
If so, direct them to their peers.
Okay. So it's all about tapping into that network again.
It's like you're creating this web of interconnected learning.
I like that.
And it's amazing how much they can learn from each other when we set up those opportunities.
Okay. This is all great in theory. But I know teachers are thinking, okay, but what about...
Oh, I know all those real-world classroom challenges.
Yeah, like what happens when you have groups working on different aspects of a bigger problem.
Yeah, like one group's gathering data, another group's analyzing it.
Yeah, and then another one's presenting it.
It's like pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah.
And the book actually encourages interaction even then.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because imagine how much richer the learning is when they share their progress with each other.
Okay, so they're seeing the whole picture.
Exactly.
Okay, what about when a group finishes early?
Ah, the classic early finishers.
Do you give them more work? Do you have them help?
Well, the book has a really interesting take on that. Instead of just jumping in, just observe them.
Okay. See how they're interacting? Are they already naturally helping other groups?
Exactly. Maybe they're already doing it.
Okay.
And you can subtly encourage that.
How would you do that?
You could say something like, Group A, it looks like you're done.
Yeah.
Maybe Group C could benefit from your expertise on this.
So you're acknowledging their strengths.
Exactly, and valuing those different paces.
Okay, here's another one. What if a group's like totally off track?
Yeah. Do we step in right away?
To correct him?
Well, the book actually suggests a little wait and see approach.
Okay.
Because a lot of times they'll self-correct.
If you give them a chance.
If we give them the time and space to grapple,
right,
and if they're really stuck, instead of pointing out the mistake, ask a guiding question.
Right.
You might say, Group B, can you walk me through your thinking here?
So make them explain it.
Exactly.
Which might help them see the error.
Exactly. And even if they don't see the error right away, just the process of explaining helps them understand more deeply.
I'm seeing a pattern here, these micro moves.
Yeah.
They're not just about behavior management.
It's deeper than that.
It's like you're really shifting the whole...
You're orchestrating.
Dynamic. Yeah, it's like a symphony.
A symphony of thinking. Okay. I love that.
And when it works...
Yeah.
The results can be amazing.
This has been so insightful.
Glad to hear it.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
I feel like we need more time.
We do. I think we need one more part.
To really unpack all of this.
Yeah, let's take a quick pause.
Okay.
And then we'll come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Where we'll bring it all together.
Okay.
And give you some really actionable strategies to take back to your classrooms.
All right. We are back and ready for the final part.
Yes. Let's wrap up this deep dive.
Of our deep dive into student autonomy.
Into thinking classrooms.
In thinking classrooms. So we've talked about, the downsides of being too controlling. And we've explored this awesome idea of like mobilizing knowledge. Mobilizing knowledge. Yeah, that's a good one.
And we've even like played with some of those, micro moves.
Yeah, those little but powerful strategies.
But before we go.
Yeah.
Let's try to distill it all down.
Yeah, good idea.
Into like some key takeaways.
Okay, so I think the biggest takeaway is that fostering student autonomy, it's not like a one and done thing.
Right, it's a process.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a shift in how we think about teaching.
So it's not like you just suddenly become this like hands-off teacher who never plans anything.
It's about empowering students to take charge of their own learning.
Yeah, to really become those active learners.
And to do that, we have to be really intentional.
Intentional.
About everything like how we structure our classrooms, how we interact with them.
Even those little cues we give.
The little things.
Because like you said before, we could be accidentally like holding them back.
It's like we're dimming their light.
Dimming the light. Yeah.
Instead of letting them shine.
Right. Sometimes we have to just step back.
Step back and let them figure things out.
And let those light bulbs go off on their own.
Exactly. Let them illuminate their own paths.
I love that. So as you're listening, think about your own classroom.
Yeah. Ask yourself.
Like, how much choice are you giving your students?
Are you encouraging that collaboration?
Are you really mobilizing knowledge?
It's a good question to reflect on.
It is. And speaking of reflection,
yeah,
there's this amazing question in the book.
Oh, yeah. I remember this one.
It asks, what are some of the feelings in a classroom where knowledge is being shared between groups?
That's a powerful question.
It really makes you think about
the emotional side of it.
Yeah, like what would it feel like
to
be a student in that kind of environment?
Imagine feeling safe to take risks.
Right? To share your ideas.
Really learn from your mistakes.
And to like celebrate each other's successes.
Yeah, there's this sense of excitement.
I bet.
When everyone's involved.
Of like community?
Yeah, a real sense of community.
Like we're all in this together.
Exactly. We're all learning together.
And that's what it's all about, right?
It is. It's about creating that love of learning.
Yeah. Making them lifelong thinkers.
Lifelong thinkers, exactly.
So I encourage you.
Yeah.
Take these ideas.
Yeah, experiment with them.
Experiment, play around.
See what works in your classroom.
Share your experiences.
Share with other teachers.
Let's all learn from each other.
Yeah, let's make our classrooms those vibrant hubs of collaborative learning.
I love it. This has been another fantastic deep dive.
It has been a good one.
Full of practical stuff.
Lots of actionable strategies.
And inspiration.
Inspiration, too.
So until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep exploring.
Keep those young minds engaged.
Keep thinking.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
See you next time.